Welcome to Messy Business, the podcast for solo business owners who are brilliant at what they do, but sometimes feel like things are a bit of a mess. I'm Libby Langley, business therapist, author, and your practical voice of calm in the chaos of working for yourself. Each week, I'll help you make sense of the mess so you can build a business that actually feels like you. Here's this week's episode. Hey. Welcome to Messy Business. I am Libby Langley, your host. And in this episode, I want to take you through the 4 foundations of a solid business base. They are belief, alignment, structure, and ease. There you go. So this is important and this is practical, today's episode. So this is kind of important building on what I've sort of said to you before in the last couple of episodes, that it's not about fixing yourself. It's about embracing the messy, beautiful person that you are and making sure that your business fits you, right? That's what's so important. And this framework, this base framework, belief, alignment, structure, and ease, this is the framework behind everything I do in my program, Reboot Camp. And it's how you rebuild your business so it actually fits who you are. And I want to talk you through it today because it's really going to help you think about, maybe that's where things don't kind of sit quite right. And maybe that's what I can change, right? And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you change the way that you're feeling and to make things easier for you, to make it feel like it's all fun again, right? Because you don't want business to feel heavy. You don't want business to feel like meh. I mean, there are times when we all feel meh, right? And there are times when it's really flipping hard. I don't care what anyone says. But that shouldn't be your constant feeling. Okay, if that's your constant feeling, then possibly you're doing the wrong thing, right? But let's assume that you love what you do. You just don't always love the way that you do it. Okay, important distinction there. So the 4 things in my base model are belief, alignment, structure, and ease. And belief, right? This is kind of your real, if you're thinking about building a house, this is really your foundations, right? This has to be absolutely rock solid in order to be able to put walls and a roof on it. Your foundations really matter. And this is about what your beliefs in your business are. So who you are, what you stand for, and what you actually want. So who are you in your business? What really matters to you? What do you stand for? What are you super passionate about? What doesn't matter to you? What couldn't you give 2 hoots about? What do you actually want from your business? How close to being able to answer that are you? And I think we forget about this, right? Certainly when I first started my business, right, all those many moons ago in 2011, I don't believe I answered any of these questions. Don't believe I asked them. Don't believe I could answer them. It just didn't cross my mind. It was like, what am I good at? What might be fun? How can I make some money? Or will that make me some money? Honestly, absolutely, genuinely, that was my criteria. Nobody ever asked me whether I was passionate about what I was doing, and I never asked myself. And I don't want you to do the same, right? I share that with you, and I share that completely openly and honestly because I don't want you to, I just don't want you to do the same as that, because I built a business that didn't suit me and was a huge amount of fun and great turnover and all that, but wasn't sustainable because it wasn't driven by passion. It was driven by, this is fun. I can do what I like. I've got my business. And yes, that is important, but also there's got to be the passion and the what you stand for, how you want to change the world in there too, to a certain extent. Otherwise, it doesn't, it'll burn out and you'll burn out as well. So as part of your belief, The first of the 4 foundations of a solid business, the belief is that, and I'd love to know whether you can articulate that. And this is something that the members of my Reboot Camp program will tell you that we talk about all the time. Because when you lose sight of that, or when you chuck something else in, oh yeah, I can do that. This opportunity comes along. It's like, is it actually aligned with what you want to do? Oh no, not really. But it could earn me a lot of money, or it's like, yeah, okay. So, make the conscious choice just to do it for the money because that suits you right now. But don't confuse that with it being aligned to how you want your business to go. Yeah, they're different things. And if you have kind of shaky beliefs, or if you don't know what your beliefs are, if you kind of don't have a absolutely locked in point of view or mission statement, whatever, business brand statement, then they can really cause everything else to wobble. Because if you think about building a house, right, if your foundations are not rock solid, well, you're going to get subsidence, aren't you? Or the whole thing's going to fall down. And we don't want that to happen to your business. The whole point of having a business is that you get freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of choice, but it's got to be built on something. Can't be built on quicksand, or you'll be forever firefighting and changing your mind and chopping and basically you will run a business like I ran a business for probably about 12 of my 14 years. Without really understanding what drives and what motivates you. And fun is really important, right? I mentioned fun a couple of times. It's got to be fun. You've got to enjoy it. But it kind of, fun in itself isn't enough, I don't believe. There has to be something deeper, some kind of passion or purpose behind it. Why is this fun? And I realise I do sound like a real killjoy saying that, but why is this fun? That matters in order to be able to, build the business on it and to build it sustainably. And certainly you're never going to have solid foundations if your decisions come from comparison, not conviction. That really is so true. So I want you to reflect on that. And when you make decisions, do you make them because absolutely 100% they are, messy or not, right for you? Or, I saw Emma on Instagram was doing, running a short course for £27. Maybe I need to do one. And it's like, not if you don't want to. Why? Just because other people are doing stuff, it doesn't matter. And that's so important. And I absolutely want you to analyze that of yourself. Are your decisions coming from comparison or conviction? And I hope it's conviction. If it's not, then, make different decisions, right? You get to make these decisions absolutely for yourself. So that's belief. And then alignment. If you're thinking about building a house, then this is kind of your, maybe the top screed of the base of the floor, but then also the walls, right? So this is the base of the walls and the top screed of your foundations. It's where your life and business finally start to make sense together. And because they have to marry, your life is always going to be lifing, right? There's always going to be stuff. There's always going to be kids or aging parents or illness or 3 different builders in a week, tradespeople coming in, or I don't know, just stuff, or a cat that is 20 years old and constantly yelling in the background. That's incredibly stressful. Just speaking for myself there, what she's doing at the moment. There's always going to be that stuff, right? So you need to have a business that makes sense with that, because you're never going to change your life or those factors of life, right? They are always going to exist. There are always, unfortunately, going to be illnesses and deaths and, I don't know, relationship breakdowns and all sorts of that, and joyful stuff too, right? But life is always going to be lifey. And so a business that fits around what you actually have capacity to do and you actually have desire to do is just so important. So this is where alignment comes in. And overcomplicating can be a real sign of misalignment, right? Hello, very guilty of that. I really find some of the back end stuff in business interesting. And I'm like, ooh, new technology. Ooh, look. Oh, I can have a 17-step process here. But I don't need to. And so having the kind of conviction to double down on the stuff that you're already doing that works, like this podcast, right? Then you don't need all the other stuff, because this will do a lot of the thing will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And overcomplicating is also, I think it's a lack of confidence as well, to a certain extent. If I add more things in, then there's more chance of like hooking clients. But not true. There are plenty of people who have hugely successful businesses who just have a podcast or just do YouTube or just have a Substack or are still just on Twitter, or don't do any social media at all, right? And make the whole business by networking or by keynote speaking. You can just pick one thing that you like. And the fear of saying no to the other stuff, oh my goodness me, yeah, it's massive and it's real. But that overcomplicating and spreading yourself really, really thinly is a misalignment, because I know for a fact, we may not have spoken about this personally in person, but I know for a fact that you do not have the energy to spread yourself across 37 different things. I know that for a fact, right? So picking the one or two or three things that are completely in alignment with your energy and your joy is going to be far more successful for you. And really, one of the best things that I've done recently is stopping doing this podcast on YouTube. When I'm in a group, I'm in a mastermind, and it's just great because it's very podcast focused, which is an area that I continue to learn about because I'm 3 years in and it's still a relatively new world for me, right? But it's also a space where I can go and be vulnerable and share. And now I'm rubbish at doing those things, right? But I've gone in with a completely different attitude to that. And I was just like, so I know YouTube's really good for discoverability and it's, Google owned. And so we get found on that. But I don't really like recording my podcast by video. So would the world end if I stopped doing that? And of course the answer is no, right? We just voice what we voice what we already know, and often, and just need the kind of validation for there. And of course, the response to that is, well, in order to do YouTube well, you need to invest time and energy and do YouTube first videos rather than just recording an audio podcast in video format. And I'm like, oh no, well, I'm never going to do that. So I just won't do YouTube at all. And the podcast will just go out on its RSS feed in the audio version onto YouTube as well. And it's like, oh my God, I feel lighter. I feel freer. Am I missing opportunities? Maybe, but I'm never going to do it properly. And so that's fine. And it just makes everything much more aligned and much more how I want it to be. And the whole thing about a messy business, right, is that you are messy, but you also can unmess too. You can be messy in and of yourself. Your brain can be messy and all over the place, but it doesn't mean that you have to add in and 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 add in, right? In order to create this misalignment. The business can be very, very simple, be deliciously simple, to allow you to be as messy as you need to be, right? That's the distinction, and that's so important. And that's where your alignment comes in. So what about your structure? Number 3 of the 4 foundations of a solid business. Well, that's kind of really, that's like really the walls with the, plaster. She says, looking at the walls that doesn't have any plaster on it at the moment. That's really the plaster, and maybe some wallpaper too, right? That's the kind of support stuff there. This is about things like your offers, your pricing, the systems that work for you. Not the systems that exist that you can implement, the systems that work for you. And yes, Post-it notes are a system. So you have to think about the way that your brain works and the way that you want your business to run. And if you work with external people, Post-its ain't going to work, right? They're very much an internal, they are right in front of you on your desk. So you have to have something straightforward. And that could be sharing documents in a Dropbox, or a Google Drive or something, or a Trello board, or using Slack, or whatever it is, whatever system that you want and that you use, right? And your offers and your pricing, you have to be comfortable with them. They have to be profitable, and you can reverse engineer the maths on that as to whether they will be. But you get to pick, right? You get to pick whether what price you charge. As long as it's profitable, that's what matters. And as long as you have the capacity to deliver the amount of things you would need to deliver in order to make the profit that you want, right? If you say you want to make 100 grand of profit a year and you have limited time and energy, and so you're going to sell lots and lots of things at £10 each, it's like, no, I'm telling you now that doesn't add up, right? Because without even doing the maths on it, it's a lot that you would need to sell. So, you've got to have offers and pricing that work for you, really importantly. Not that is possible. They're different things. And simple doesn't necessarily mean small. You can have, you can make an absolute ton of money with something that is very, very simple. The important thing is that it has to be sustainable. Absolutely categorically has to be sustainable for you to keep going with it, right? You don't need a small business. And if you want a small business, amazing. So here for that. It's this simplicity of, I don't know, when your brain is like super busy and super all over the shop and you can't remember your train of thought and you can't even remember why you walked into the room, let alone what you were going to pick up when you went in there, or where you left your glasses, or, why you put something in the fridge when it was meant to go in the cupboard, whatever, right? All those things. Taking away as much as you can from your business means that you're not like giving yourself extra opportunities to just beat yourself up for being a bit rubbish. Because it's not that you're rubbish, it's just that your brain is wired differently. And so that's all fine. Yes, we can put structures in place that make things easier, but it's like the simpler your business is, then the longer you'll be going to be able to continue it. And it's like, so you need a way of people finding you. So website, socials, whatever. You need a way of telling people what you do, and of meeting people. So socials, networking, whatever. You need a way for people to pay you. So sales page, I don't know, PayPal link, doesn't matter. Cash, doesn't matter what it is. And you need a way to deliver your services. So you need a venue, or you need Zoom, or you need something. That's it, right? That is all that you need in order to have a sustainable and successful business. So you don't need to add 37 different elements to that. You just don't, okay? So let's just all relax, because we don't have to do that. And the thing about having a strong structure is that these strong walls, building your house, these strong walls, they won't leak energy or money. And that's what you've got to protect. You need to protect both of those things, right? Because you want to keep as much profit as possible, and you want to conserve as much energy as possible. Because by God, having such a busy brain is just exhausting in itself. Even if you're just sitting quietly, it's still tiring sometimes. And then number 4 in the 4 foundations of a solid business is ease. And that's your roof, right? If you're thinking about building a house, that's the piece of cake bit at the end. And really, this is about your natural visibility, marketing, but what it does, this visibility will naturally follow a kind of structural security, solid foundations, super tight structure. And then it's just like, boop, on we pop the roof, off we go and talk about the business. Dead easy now, because I know all of the other stuff. Yeah. It is the ultimate evidence of alignment. And this ease, it's not being lazy and saying, oh, I'm not doing any of those other things. You might decide not to do all those other things, but it's not from a laziest point of view. It's just like, oh yeah, this is proof that my business works. I have such conviction in what I'm doing and such confidence that this is solid that I can just go out there and be visible and talk about my business really comfortably. And visibility does not mean showing up on Reels every 5 minutes or having a bloody TikTok account, right? It doesn't mean that. It just means sharing who you are and what you do. That's all it is, and in whatever format then suits you. But it's important that the things go in this order, right? It's important that first of all you work on the foundations, which is your beliefs, who you are, what you do, why you do it, why you're passionate about it, who you do it for, all of those things. Then you need the alignment, which is kind of the start of the walls, where your life and business make sense together, how you undercomplicate rather than overcomplicate to make sure that you are not misaligned. And then you move on to structure, the offers, your pricing, the systems that work for you, and why simple is an utter godsend. Okay. And finally, you've got your ease, you've got the roof, you've got the ultimate evidence of alignment. You've achieved peak business, right? That's where you can put the crown on and sit back in your fluffy dressing gown and go, yes, queen, because you've achieved the epitome of ultimately of success, right? Within a messy business, and it's just glorious. And that's what I want for you. That is what I want for you from your business and from your life. And this, like I say, this is my formula. This is copyrighted to me, this base model. And this is what I work through with my clients because it's what works and it's what matters. And it's the process I've put myself through in order to relaunch this podcast as Messy Business and to rebrand the program as Reboot Camp, because it is fully aligned with who I am and what I believe in, and embracing the hot mess that I am quite a lot of the time. And I know that that's something that kind of makes me appealing to people and relatable. So I'm just going to own it because I'm so tired of fighting it. I'm so tired of spending years trying to be perfect and be like other people. And it's like, no, my real power comes from being able to normalize stuff that shouldn't be normal, and also to take complicated problems and issues and make them so simple. And I know that I can do that, and I have a real talent for that. So I'm here for that, right? So for you to reflect on, I ask you, which part of your base, your foundations, your base feels strongest? Is that your belief, your alignment, your structure, or your ease? What feels the strongest and what needs rebuilding? Yeah. And then you'll kind of know what you need to look at. And my guess is that it is your beliefs, right? It's your foundations. You need to go back to that. And as I said before, if you need my help, DM me, email me, and we can talk about what it looks like to work together, because that would be really cool, right? So all that remains for me to say is that when your base is solid, you can handle all the mess in your head, in your life, whatever it throws at you. And I'm here for you. So well done. Go out there, get base building, and remember these 4 foundations of a solid business, because it makes such a difference, right? Please don't spend loads of time learning a new marketing, bloody Instagram, whatever, who cares, how you cut your reels together. It ain't going to make any difference, right? If you're not coming from a solid point and a real, I feel this in my core, that this matters and this is what I stand for and this is what I believe in. If you haven't got that sorted, the rest of it is just time wasting and procrastination, and you might as well not be doing it because it's not really going to help you in the long run. There you go. That was Auntie Libby there giving you a solid pep talk. So thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow, whatever it is, next time on another episode of Messy Business. Lots of love. Bye. Thanks for listening to Messy Business. Make sure you follow or subscribe so you don't miss your next dose of clarity and calm. You'll find me on Instagram at Libby Langley. And when you're ready for deeper support in a space where you can rebuild your business around who you are, you can join me inside Reboot Camp. See you next week for more Messy Business.